So, when you have a child, you've got to obviously help them grow up to be a good person, right?
Yeah.
What would happen if you prioritised certain aspects of their development over others? Would they be more successful in those areas? So, for example, if I really wanted them to be an artist, and I was like, yeah, you draw, instead of teaching them how to walk,
Right.
would that make them a better artist?
Probably. I think they'd learn to walk anyway, though, because they'd have to. But I think, yes, obviously, if you do the same thing over and over and over, and you stay consistent with it from like an early age, then you'll probably be quite good at it. But I don't know what the distinction is between how good that will be compared to like people who are naturally gifted in certain things. I don't think you can really teach someone creativity. You can certainly improve it by practicing, trying to put yourself into that state. But I don't know. I think there just are people that aren't that creative.
I feel like people who are creative have very good taste and stuff, and that's judged by the sheer amount of stuff they've consumed.
Really?
So that's what I think anyway, some of it.
Right.
Because then they have a better judgment about what works and what doesn't. So,
well, what does creativity mean to you, though?
The ability to use your imagination to come out with something that is unique.
So you're basically saying that people that
original,
people that expose themselves to new ideas quite often will then practice kind of the skill of generating new ideas in their own brain, in their own imagination.
Ways of doing stuff different.
I agree with you. No, I think obviously, yeah. If you picked the thing of like, I want my kid to be sick at this, you could probably, especially when they're very young, like
just expose them to loads of art, right? Don't worry about feed them and they'll
give them their calorie requirements for the day, and that's it. Not allowed to see any friends. You just got to paint, right? Although the thing is, then you're going to traumatise them. Do you know what I mean? Then an unhealthy kid's still not going to be a good artist if they hate their life. So there's you got to think. And also, what happens what if you've done this, right? You've trained your kid to be a sick artist from like the age of 2, but then what happens if they get to 12 and they're like, Dad, I don't enjoy painting. I want to go and play golf. What do you do then? You just got to allow them to be, man.
Yeah, but how much should you guide them?
I think you should give them principles, but not like a path. No, you don't lay the path down for them. You just give them principles.
Alright, so another example, right? You focus on feeding them.
Well, yeah.
So that they're eating from a very early age. Are they more likely to be a chef?
No, but I've got an well, I don't know, maybe. But I've got an interesting thing about that. I heard people, I can't remember where I heard it now, talking about why it seems that people these days are smarter than we've ever been before. And this one guy argued that it's because we have more nutrition when we're young. Because that's when the brain is developing rapidly. And it's interesting that. So maybe if you focused on feeding your kid like the best diet of all time, then you could probably improve their IQ slightly to if they had a crap diet as a kid.
Are people getting smarter though?
Well, I think, if you're living, if you're a serf back in the Middle Ages, and you're basically a peasant, you're not going to be having a balanced diet, and you're not going to be getting all the nutrients you need for your body to function optimally. I mean, people don't do that nowadays, right? Because a lot of us can just consume shit all the time, food-wise. But I think if you made sure you were fueling your body from a young age well, as a child, I think you develop better, certainly. I mean, they show it with human height, that yes, it's mostly genetic, but there's also an element of your diet that that relates to how tall you become. So maybe it's the same thing with IQ or maybe creativity, because really your brain's developing so rapidly when you're a kid. You've got to be supplying it with that fuel for it to do what it's got to do.
All I'm saying is, Tiger Woods' dad.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Very disciplined on him. He was playing golf like the kid when he was like 2 or 3.
He was playing golf, as like a 3-4-year-old on TV. I remember hearing that. Yeah, but then Tiger Woods isn't a healthy man.
Yeah,
Marriage is broken down, car accidents, mental health problems. I think he's bipolar or something along those lines. So that's not good, is it?
Is that a result of the too much
probably.
pressure and?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know how much is it right to push someone to get good at something, even if it takes away everything else. You know, the people we admire are just people that have basically sacrificed everything else in their life to get good at one specific thing. And would you really want that? Would you want to pay that price? Would your kid want to pay that price? I don't think they would. I don't. You know, I still want to get good at stuff, but I also want an element of balance.
What's that? Well, depends if you enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're obsessive with something and you're doing it every hour of the day, but you enjoy it, that's cool, man. But I don't think you should, you know, treat yourself like a military sergeant and force yourself to do things that you hate.
Right.
No. I've come with a theory this week.
Yeah.
I think I want to try and bring something to the table.
Yeah.
Especially if it's just me and you. I want to have an idea that I'm thinking about. So I've got a theory, right? But it's kind of built upon two different theories that I've kind of been exposed to over the past year or so. One is, I read a book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You, which talked about how to have a good career, or like find the right career. And then, so it's building on upon that, as well as the kind of notion that you get in the red pill internet culture that if you're unsatisfied, I mean, mainly they focus on like young men. It's like if you're unsatisfied with parts of your life, the best thing you can do is work on yourself to the point where those things, be it status or women, will come to you in the future, right? So combining those two theories, I've got this theory called life capital, right?
Is that your own original theory?
I think so. I haven't done the research on it,
okay.
But in my head, I've basically took Cal Newport's theory. So Cal Newport has this theory called career capital, which he basically said, if you hate your job and you don't know what to do, so you don't know what your passion is, then you should get really, really good at something and build what he calls career capital. And then when you're really, really good at something, then you'll either start to love the job because you're good at it, or you'll be hired into a better job because you are so valuable, because you have that capital, you have those skills, you are a valuable person to have in a company or wherever. So my life capital theory puts those two together, the red pill stuff and Cal Newport's career capital theory, to say to people that if, and I've been thinking about this for myself as well, if you're in a position in your life that you don't like right now, no matter what it is or where you are or who you are, the best thing you can do is build life capital by trying to get good at various aspects of life. It's like a holistic personal development, basically, where you take various things. So let's say, and really you can base this off the things about yourself that you don't like or the things about your life that you don't like. So if you don't like the fact that you don't like looking at yourself in the mirror, then maybe you should build life capital and go and train and build your body up and get good at training and get good at eating healthy and get good at recovering. And maybe, let's say, you're sick of not having much money, right? And that's something I feel right now. You know, I'm a young guy. There's a whole big world out there to go and explore, and I don't have the funds to go and experience the things I want to experience. I don't really want a flashy car or a flashy watch or a flashy house. That stuff doesn't really interest me. But I want to go traveling. You know, I want to invest in projects and things. You know, but I don't have the money for that now. So instead of complaining and moaning, I'm going to try and build life capital, and I'm going to try and get good at stuff so that money comes in the future. Think about the same thing with like romance or friends or social skills as a whole. If you don't feel like you have a clear social network, you don't think you're good at talking to whoever, you know, whatever group of people you're attracted to, the best thing you can do is get good at stuff and get good at that thing any way you can, just by exposing yourself to different social scenarios, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and that builds life capital. And I think life capital is like my overall term for the metrics that situate us in our positions in the social hierarchy. The people you admire them because they have so much life capital. They're just good at life. They just have everything in order. And no one's perfect. Obviously you're going to have days where things aren't going well, but on an overall average day, they are the most valuable people. They have the most life capital. So what do you think of my theory?
So with these skills, do you mean they pay dividends, or do you mean that you can use those skills to go into something else
When you
build
say
yourself up.
when you say pay dividend, what does that exactly mean?
It pays off sort of all
Long
the way
term.
through. Yeah, like a little bits long term. For example,
Yeah.
like when you said about you look in the mirror and you're not happy how you look. You go to the gym, get in good shape. That pays dividends because you'll feel a lot more confident.
And also, maintaining a good, healthy body is a lot easier than building it. So you might put 5 years into building like a sick, healthy body, whatever that looks like to you, and then maintaining that is a whole lot easier. Number one, because you've built the habits, but number two, your body likes to stay in the homeostatic position that it is. So if you've got X amount of muscle mass, you know, if you're going to the gym casually, you know, just eating all right, your body will want to maintain that because it's what it's used to. So yeah, I think that's definitely true. It does pay dividends. I think getting good at anything, trying hard at anything, benefits you over a long, long period of time. I thought about this before. I thought about the fact that going to try and do well in school, even in subjects that I'm not going to do at university, or I'm not going to do even in my A-levels, the ones I tried hard in at GCSE, like, you might have the perspective of what's the point in trying hard at them? Because really that qualification doesn't matter. No one's going to be looking at my grade in GCSE RE, are they? You know, no one cares. But it was useful to try and get good at that and build the skills, because then I learned how to study effectively. And sometimes I draw upon ideas from that. And it basically gets you used to the process of trying to build something or do hard things realistically. I think that's what life capital is.
Pursue what's meaningful, not exponential. Not expedient.
Not expedient, yeah. It's true. Yeah, so that's what I've been thinking about recently. So yeah, I don't know.
I agree. I don't see why that wouldn't.
I kind of like it as well because it says to people that if you don't like something about your life, you can change it, but it's just down to you. That you shouldn't look outside of yourself to change it. You shouldn't try and change other people or society, because really you can't change society or other people. But what you can change is what you do. When you wake up in the morning, you've got a certain amount of hours, and you choose what you do with those hours.
So, but there are people that are quite skilled in areas and they don't really move up. Why is that?
What do you mean? Like in this one specific domain, they're very good, but
yeah.
Well, I think life capital to me is an overall thing.
Right.
So maybe no one wants to be the guy who works all his life and makes loads of money, but has poor health and no family connections and a poor social circle. That's not what we want at all. We want to develop. Being good at life is a holistic thing. If you've got a guy who's got a net worth of 100 million and yet he's got diabetes or cardiovascular disease and he's in an unhappy relationship or no relationship at all, he hasn't won life.
But to get good at something, don't you have to sacrifice aspects of others?
Not necessarily. I don't think you need to sacrifice your health or your social skills to, say, make loads of money. I also don't think you have to sacrifice making a good income and your social circle to be in good shape and be healthy. They kind of work together, you know. So I don't think I could do good work if I was, you know, eating crap and not sleeping and stuff. I think it all works together. Yes, I think what you do have to sacrifice is stuff that doesn't really give you life capital. You know, the instant gratification stuff. It's nice in the moment, and there's also you've got to have an element of that every so often. But if you build your life around pleasure in this present moment, then it's not going to work.
No capital's built.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not paying dividends, as you would say.
Yeah. So you said if you don't know what you want to do, you should start increasing your skills at one thing.
Something. Yeah.
But how do they know what?
Or
can it be anything?
I think as long as you don't absolutely hate doing it, it doesn't really matter. Just pick something that is useful. You know, so for example, in today's world, if I wasn't doing the things I was doing now, and I was like thinking to myself, I've got some spare time, what do I want to get good at? I'd probably learn to code or something. Or video editing, you know, or writing. Or you could try really, really hard at your studies. Or if you're in a 9-to-5 job, get really, really good at what you do. Stand out amongst your employees, because that might give you a promotion. And then at that point, if you're so skilled at what you've done in that job for say a year or two, then you're a more valuable employee, and you can move, you can go somewhere else, or you can do your own thing. I think what I'm trying to say, if I was to put it into one sentence, is that getting good at stuff makes life easier, pretty much universally. You know, there's no situation where you can try hard at something that doesn't really go well, as long as it's something good, you know, something useful.
Is there a correlation between intelligence and happiness?
I think it's actually a negative correlation. I think a lot of the time, the higher your IQ, say, I think the harder it is to be happy.
It's because everyone's dumb around you and you're like, oh, keep up.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think I did hear that somewhere. But like we've said before, is like happiness is so elusive and.
I do feel that though. Ignorant people are annoying.
Yeah. But also, I think, you know, some people are just happy with a nice, chill, simple life, man, and that's cool. But I can't do that. That's the thing. I can't. Well, maybe I could, but I don't think I'd be satisfied. I think I'd want to die, really.
I saw Chris Williamson tweet, "Don't argue with stupid people. That's a waste of your time."
Yeah, well, it's true.
And I'm around some stupid people, and I haven't been arguing with them.
Let them do what they want to do, man. Yeah, I think it's live and let live, innit? I've got no issue with people as long as they're not harming anyone. If you've got an opinion that I disagree with, that's cool, to be honest.
So, into your theory, there's a bit about like the socialising aspect. Now, if you're working hard on one thing, say business, for example, a network's very important. How much do you socialise with sort of average friends who are not on that same thing as you?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, yeah. I think socialising is a fundamental human need, right? And like, it's not socialising as in like networking for business, but like, I mean socialising for just socialising, just having fun with people when, you know, there's no long-term purpose to it, and you're just in the moment and you're just enjoying it, you're just having a conversation with someone. I think that's very necessary. I mean, I don't have that. It affects me, definitely. It affects everything else that I do. So I think whatever path you're on, you need people around you that are not on that path to kind of humble you in some way, you know? Like, I'm very, very driven to do my specific things, but I also do gain a lot of joy and a lot of value from just hanging about with like my basketball teammates who just are chill, and we can just have a good time, and they don't care about what I'm doing, they don't care about my YouTube channel, they don't care about, you know, and that's cool. And same thing with my friends at school. You know, a lot of them won't listen to episodes like this because they just don't care. They're just enjoying their life, and having those conversations, talking to those people, it's good for me. It shows you that, you know, you're not the only thing in this universe, and that your goals really aren't everything, man.
But what if they're people that are like lazy?
Obviously, you don't let them come too close, because I mean, I wouldn't really. I don't think there's any utility in really being around someone who's super negative or super lazy. If you wanna get stuff done, like what I thought you meant was people who are just, they're not super into the same things as you, but they're just the normal person.
No, I think that's obviously very good.
If we're talking about people who are negative,
not necessarily negative, but then just average people. They've got no higher pursuit.
Well, you've got to think, if they're bringing you down, then don't go there. But if they're keeping your life in balance, I don't think there's an issue. I think as long as they're not like putting you down in what you want to do, then stay away from them anyway. I mean, anyone that puts you down from wanting to do something good, they're not the person you want to be spending your life with or being around.
Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky.
Exactly.
Law 10.
Exactly, mate.
But then I think there's a lot of value from talking to strangers.
Yeah.
And I think that the value mainly comes by, I mean, it's a skill, but where does that value come by?
I think talking to strangers, I mean, I get quite overwhelmed sometimes. Say I'm at a busy junction in my car, right? 4-way junction, multiple lanes. I'm looking about, it's a red light or whatever, and I'm seeing so many people in little metal boxes going about their own lives, right? And I'm like, I have no idea who these people are, and yet they're living on the same planet as me, and they've got their whole entire life with all their problems and their joys and their social connections and their goals and their failures. And it's quite nice in a way. It's quite a relaxing thing. I think meeting various new people, meeting strangers, communicating with random people out and about reminds you that there are like nearly 8 billion of us on here. I mean, I don't know if we've passed 8 billion, but it's around there, isn't it? And we're just a speck on human Earth, and that's all right. I think that's it. And also weird little serendipitous interactions with people makes us feel good. You know, there's something about it. It's just a little bit of joy, isn't it? When you meet someone new, have a good chat.
The other side of it, though, is aren't people just NPCs, strangers?
They might be, but even if they are, you know, that little bit of joy that you get from talking to them, that's valuable. You know, I could be an NPC. I don't know, man. I don't think I am. I think I'm conscious, but I don't know. I don't know what I am. Maybe I'm being ventriloquized by some weird powers out of my control, you know?
How do you know if you're an NPC?
You don't, man. Yeah. I think the fact you're questioning that you're an NPC shows that you're not an NPC, maybe.
I'm not.
Good. Well, I'll take your word for it, mate. I'll take your word for it, but I don't know for sure.
Sort of ties into this. One of Peterson's rules is listen like they know something you don't.
Yeah. Speak to someone like they know something you don't, or something along that. Yeah, along those lines, yeah.
How does that tie into strangers?
I think you can learn from everyone. You can learn from, you know, even the people that you might have some negative prejudice around because they're in a certain position in life. You can learn something. Even someone who's like a heroin addict, you still have a conversation with them because they've had an interesting life experience, man. They're fighting some demons, you know, and you can learn from that. You can learn from those things. So I think what that rule is trying to argue is that everyone we come into contact with can give us a small segment of value. Like, I think about it, especially with like elderly people. I think a lot of our generation have this presumption that they're boring, and that there's no utility in having a conversation with them. But then the way I look at it is, if someone's 75 years old, right, they've been about for 75 years. We've been about for 18, right? There's a big difference there. A lot's happened. I mean, maybe they haven't travelled the world and done extreme things, but they've still been a human being for 75 years.
I feel like it's quite hard to have a stranger reveal that to you.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
Can you go up to someone and just be like, tell me the most amazing thing you've ever done?
No, you can't, no. Because there's weird social norms about that, isn't there?
But why? I don't like it.
It annoys me, mate. Do you know what also annoys me? The fact that when you pass someone on the street, the normal thing is to ignore them. Is it just an England thing? I don't know. But sometimes it makes me sad, you know? Like, that's another human, just say hello. You know?
Yeah.
When I see people, I don't like force them to say hello to me, but I try and make eye contact.
Yeah.
And if they make eye contact, I say alright. If they avoid my eye contact, I don't. I leave it because I'm like, you don't want to talk to me anyway. But yeah, I find that sad. I find it sad. We've said before, I think you're like me, you just hate small talk, man. I can't.
Yeah.
It annoys me. But it's necessary in certain contexts. But for the most part, I'm just like, oh, let's talk about something deep, man. Let's talk about something meaningful. I don't want to be talking about the weather and crap like that, man. I
think when there's situations where you're brought along for a gathering or a conversation to supposedly have an organised good time.
Oh.
What's the point? On the day, being spontaneous. That's so much better. Hey, message straight away.
Yeah.
And then get straight into it.
I agree. Yeah. And especially if it's with people you don't really want to talk to. Like family things. You know, if you're my distant second cousin twice removed, I don't care. No, I'm honestly, I'm serious, man. Like, as much as this might be controversial, my family is my family. My family are the people that I see on a regular basis and that I love. If you're somehow connected to me because your mum's your sister of my mum's whatever, I don't, honestly, you're just another person. I'll say alright, I'll be courteous, but I'm not, I don't, what annoys me is weddings, right? I've only been to a few in my life, but 2 people get married, right? And yet there's like 200 people at the wedding.
It's all about those 2 people, it shouldn't be.
Well, maybe, I don't know about that point, right? Maybe it's, I don't know. But it's the fact that we invite so many people to our wedding that realistically, we don't care.
When was the last wedding you went to?
It's my auntie's in October 17 or 18. 17.
So what happened? Did people just sort of sit around and on a table and just watch the bride and groom?
No, just like surveillance. Now, we had the ceremony and that, or whatever it's called, and they did the little, like, you know, I do and that. Everyone watched, clapping. That was alright. That was quite nice, you know. And there was only like a small group of us in there. That was fine. If we kept it as that, that's cool. But then you go and have your big dinner and your party thing, and suddenly 4,000 more people arrive. I'm like, number one, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but number one, how do you know all these people? Number two, why do they care? Honestly.
Yeah, what's the filter of who do you invite to your wedding?
Well, I think a lot of it is people invite people to their wedding because they worry about what would happen if they didn't invite them. It's not like I want that person there. Honestly, my wedding's going to have sub 50 people there, man. I don't want all the riffraff. I don't care if you're related to me. You're not coming. I don't know, it just annoys me.
But do you think they should make weddings more about the people that surround the bride and groom?
What do you mean, like their close, immediate family?
No, as in like, okay, invite who you want to invite, sure, but pay more attention to everyone else in the room.
Well, I don't know. You're there.
Because my parents have been to like 2 weddings quite recently, and the bride and groom, it's just small talk when you sort of get around to everyone.
Yeah, and they only speak to you for like a minute the whole day. I mean, I think the day is really about them, innit? That's what you signed up for. You signed up to celebrate these 2 people. But it really ends up just being little people, little sections of the group just chatting and that, and then you might do a few speeches or whatever.
It's probably one of the reasons why people aren't getting married as much anymore.
It's one of the weird organised things that I just think it just doesn't appeal to me. I'd have a rave and that. And you know, when I meet my wife and stuff, I don't think we'll do the traditional marriage of like, let's get the government involved in our relationship. That annoys me. Like, what's the point? I know there's like some legal issues in it, and it protects people if you've got a house or whatever. It's good for the children, I guess. But for me, it's like, let's not get the government involved.
That's weird.
Let's just go and have a rave and commit our love to one another, you know? I think that the utility in a marriage is that it basically says you are with this person through sickness and through what the words in the vows, in sickness and in health, all of that, right? You are with this person and you have to make that commitment. And I think that's good for children, and it was also good for keeping a relationship as stable as it can be when there's rocky moments, because you're like, well, I've committed to this person. But in terms of like, let's get the government involved and make it official, I just can't be asked.
Do you think people don't consider that because of the divorce rate?
Don't consider what? Don't consider that they should commit to one person, or
the sort of locked in all the assets, legal.
I think people a lot of the time in a lot of things in life, they just follow what everyone else does. So the classic thing is, if you find someone you really love, just marry them. That's what everyone does. That's what your mum did. That's what your granddad did. You know, it's just how it is. So maybe they just kind of, they're on that conveyor belt of the normal path, and they just end up there and be like, all right, yeah, we'll get married. I don't think they think. I mean, the high divorce rates scare me a bit, man. You know, I don't have statistics, but I know it's like more than we'd like. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Oof.
Can you just be like, I'll probably divorce them in 10 years. What's the point of getting married now?
I think if you're with someone you're going to divorce in 10 years, you shouldn't be with them anyway. If you're serious, like, you know, if you're actually in a relationship with them. If you're just, you know, shagging around, having a fling, that's you know, just make sure that's clarified.
Oh yeah, what about the people that get married in like 2 weeks of knowing each other?
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny, but not for me.
Do you know any of those?
Well, we actually talked about it a lot in psychology. When we looked at the topic of relationships, we watched like a bit of like Married at First Sight and stuff. It's weird, man. So they only meet this person when they're walking down the aisle, and then they marry him. And then they give them like some time to live together and stuff, and then they decide if they want to stay married by the end of the show or whatever.
Wow.
I haven't watched the full episode, but weird.
Does it work?
Sometimes it actually does. Yeah. Sometimes it actually does. Because they match you on like, they use some kind of formula to match you, yeah. But, I don't know, I don't think it would work for me, man. I don't know. Maybe it would though. Who knows? maybe just like that forced commitment to that person, like you are doing this as soon as you meet them. Maybe it would help. Maybe you'd be like, well, we've got to get along, and then maybe you'd learn to like him, you know.
But back to the topic on listen like they know something you don't.
Yeah.
I got a little bit from the book that I wrote down.
Ooh, look at you, good quotes.
Hoarders are people that don't have anyone to talk to who will listen to them. And also, so they cannot unclutter themselves.
So hoarders are people that just have loads of like things in their house, aren't they? I mean, there are some quite close.
They keep everything.
Yeah, there are some quite close to me in my life, which is quite interesting. I think it's always fascinated me. There's also a guy that lives on my road, quite a bad hoarder. I think it's a outside physical manifestation of their inner turmoil. So let me give you an example. The example that's been alluded to there, I reckon, is like they've got no one to talk to about their issues.
So they keep everything to themselves. They keep everything.
What I think is they've got no one to talk to about their problems. They've got no one to help soothe their demons. So what they do is they hoard all this stuff as like a unconscious sign or call for help, in a way. So I don't think they might realise at the time. Their impulse and their conscious decision might be, I don't want to throw that away because it's wasteful, or I might use it, or it's sentimental or whatever. But maybe the unconscious thing is, if I keep all of this stuff, fill my house with it, people will realise there's a problem, and then I'll get help. Or the alternative, which is I think is another quite popular cause of it, is that if I collect all of this stuff and make my house inhospitable to other people, then I'll protect myself. So maybe I've been hurt in the past by other people, been hurt by the world, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build these walls of shit in my normal living space so no one can hurt me, and I'll be protected. I think that's what it is. It's most people think it's just some crazy person who's looking after stuff they don't need. It's so much deeper than that. So much deeper than that.
You made that so profound. I didn't realise they were like that.
But don't you agree from hearing what I've said there though?
So summarise it. So
they're either, I think it's a physical manifestation of an internal problem. Okay.
So they express themselves through keeping stuff.
They're expressing their inner pain unconsciously, probably, through messing up their life in a way, or messing up the place they live. And they do that either to show that they're making a call for help. I've got a problem, please help me. But they don't realise this. Or it's you want to be blocked off from the world. If you open your front door and there's so much stuff that you have to climb over and people don't want to go into your house, people aren't going to go into your house and you won't get hurt. You know, you'll never see anyone, but you won't get hurt.
Is it like how Goggins says, like, you've got like a mental garage
in
your head, and you've got to get rid of
exactly. So Goggins' idea of the mental garage is like, if you've got a lot of shit in your head, you won't be able to organise your mind. You won't be able to do things in life. You won't be able to be disciplined and get good stuff done and be a good person and stuff. In a sense, I think people who hoard are like the mental garage becomes the outside garage, right? So they're so cluttered in their own head that they have to clutter their outside world for some reason or another. But yeah, it's interesting. It's not a simple thing. People who we consider crazy, there's something deep going on in all of them. You know,
there's a lot of hoarders about.
There is, man. There's one on my road.
That my neighbour's a hoarder.
Yeah. They are. It's a weird thing. It's common.
Probably about 1 in 10.
Yeah.
More or less.
Really, 1 in 10 people.
I mean, both of us have a hoarder on our street. It's about 10 houses. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll talk about the guy on my road actually, because he won't be listening to this. He every so often his garage is just full of stuff, right? And every so often he gets all the stuff out of his garage, puts it on the drive to like organise it, and then he puts it all back in, and he might throw away just like one box. Yeah. It's very sad, mate. I watch him every so often just pulling loads of shit out and putting it all back in and then getting rid of like one tin. Honestly, it's mad. And he used to have a wife and a dog. I think the dog died, the wife left him. Honestly,
oh no!
Yeah, man, it's dark. It's dark. It's a dark world, Jacob.
Did she leave him because of the hoarding?
Well, you would, wouldn't you? Yeah. He had rats apparently as well, or a rat infestation. Yeah, it was bad, mate. It was dark.
Fuck.
Yeah, and that's a man's life. That's what I'm saying earlier about how I'm sat at a junction thinking about how there's so many other people living their own lives that I know nothing about. I see some bloke that just across the street, but really he's fighting demons and the demons are winning.
So, the opposite is fly tippers.
People get rid of shit.
So, is that people that can't keep stuff to themselves and just sort of want to tell the world?
Well, I think fly tipping, or just tipping stuff generally, is a bit more of a normal activity. You know, if you've got stuff like, you know, you've bought a new sofa and you want to get rid of your old one, that's alright. I mean, if you're getting rid of valuable things in your house that you need, maybe there's an issue there. Yeah. No. Going to the tip's a weird place though. Have you been? It's crazy, man. Just people chucking stuff away. Well, where's all this stuff come from? We used to be like tribal in the savannah hunting boar. And now we're like throwing away lamps. It's weird, isn't it?
But so are you just saying fly tipping is not the opposite? It's just people have no morals.
Nah, well, I don't know. I mean, if you're putting your old sofa in the middle of a motorway, that's a bit annoying, isn't it? I wouldn't do that. That's just being. Well,
people just chuck them in bushes.
Yeah, that's just. I think I don't think that's a sign of a deep pathological problem like hoarding is.
But it's the opposite of hoarding.
No, I think the opposite of hoarding is getting rid of, like, being a minimalist, and that's seen as a good thing, isn't it? I mean, I think getting rid of stuff is, well, material possessions is a good thing, really, unless you like, you know, fly tipping, which isn't good. But I think there's something about hoarding that just doesn't look healthy, does it? You know, it doesn't just off face value. It's just, yeah, not nice, man. So yeah.
The next topic I want to go into, I think you'll give some good answers.
Alright, go ahead.
Can you explain to me déjà vu?
So déjà vu is like when something happens and you think it's happened before, correct?
Yeah. What's going on there in your head?
Well, are you talking about déjà vu where it's something that you don't think you've experienced before, but you have that feeling, or something you have actually experienced?
Yeah, that you just have the feeling.
To be honest, I'm not really sure. What I do find interesting is the people who claim they've had a past life and they like go somewhere and they claim to know that they've been there before, which is quite weird. I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like déjà vu could have a link to reincarnation.
Yeah. I mean, I think, let's say reincarnation does exist for a moment. I think you'd forget your past life anyway. So maybe little seeps of memories from who you were before come in, but that's way too unscientific and wooey for most people to believe.
But if there are those people that do remember stuff from their past life, how have they managed to break the system that everyone else forgets?
Yeah, everyone claims that they've had a past life. Everyone claims to be a...
Could those people just be making it up?
They could be, and that's why it's annoying, because you can't prove it. You know, people struggle to believe things you can't prove because, you can't prove it. Same thing with God or an afterlife to any degree. You can't prove it. So it's annoying that you can't convince everyone. If we have proof for something, then everyone starts to believe it.
But what's the point in déjà vu? Could it be telling us something?
Maybe. I mean, are you thinking déjà vu is as a hint to a past life, or do you mean déjà vu as in you're just walking about and you're like, oh, I think I've been here before? Yeah,
I feel like I've been here before.
Maybe it's memories that you've repressed, or that aren't conscious right now.
Is there not like a sort of biological thing that's happening in your brain that like some synapses have hit different?
Well, maybe you're retrieving a memory that you'd previously forgotten, because you can do that. We looked at theories of like, there's a theory that says that everything you experience you do remember, but it's not necessarily not there. it's just not accessible at that time. Okay?
Oh, my
Is your iPhone storage full?
Yeah.
We'll pause for a second, you can do that. Well, surely you can get rid of some stuff.
Yeah.
Did you get rid of the flip phone last time?
Yeah.
Shall I pause?
Yeah.
Seems to be alright. So, long-term memory, right? There's a theory that says that everything we experience is actually still stored there, but it's not always accessible. And they say that to access the memory from the past, we need to expose ourselves to a certain cue. This can be a cue from like the environment, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, like the sensory stuff. And then it could be a cue, a social cue, so the people that you're with, and a emotional cue, so how you were feeling at the time. And maybe deja vu that we get where we think we've been somewhere before, but we don't have any conscious memory of it, is us picking up on a cue and accessing a memory that we didn't know was there. So maybe a place that you didn't know you'd been, you see it, you remember that you were there before, or a feeling that you had.
Why does it come back if it's not necessarily important?
Because the cue's there, I guess. Because the reason the brain's like kept out of conscious memory is because it's not that key now. But only when you experience and you stimulate, or you're exposed to certain stimuli, those cues, that's when you remember it. But in normal day-to-day activity, you don't have to remember that.
So there's probably no sort of profound meaning of deja vu.
I don't know. I'll just think on it more and do more research, but right now I'm not sure.
Why do we walk on two legs rather than all fours?
There must have been some evolutionary advantage to it. I mean, hands are amazing. You know what I mean?
You still use hands on all fours though and just sort of lift one up?
Yeah, but try and like crawl really fast. Doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, it does.
No, not as quick as someone running.
Well, crawling, yeah, but you can sort of arch yourself up.
Yeah, but then like that's not comfortable, is it? You couldn't do that for a long period of time. If we had to do a 100-metre sprint and you had to go on all fours, not fun.
But why aren't some people on all fours from time to time?
Because they'd just get like humiliated, wouldn't they?
But that's only because of society now. Like,
no, I think hands are too useful, mate. Being on two legs means that we can walk around, like we can move about and do things with our hands. Do you realise how amazing hands are? Like, you look at animals... No, seriously though. You look at animals that don't have hands. What can they do? Like a dog. Well, a dog has paws, right? But a thumbs and fingers. There's so much going on here that people just don't think about. But the amount of tiny little muscles in our fingers to kind of articulate your movement so you can do loads of weird, complex tasks with your hands. You know, a dog cannot cook a meal. It can eat, but it can't cook, whereas we have hands so we can cook things. And a dog can't play sports. Maybe it can run, right? Catch a ball with its mouth. But it couldn't start playing snooker. Do you know what I mean? If we were on all fours, life would be boring.
but can't you do a bit of both?
If you wanted to, yeah. I think that's kind of what monkeys have, don't they? Like, they kind of be a bit on all fours, maybe stand on their legs for a bit, use their hands. They got fingers.
Yeah, but so what's the point in standing up then?
I think being tall is probably quite useful. You know, you can see more things. You're more aware of threats going on. You're just more mobile, aren't you? You know, I mean, we were originally on all fours apparently, so there must have been an advantage. There must have been an advantage when the people who started walking on two legs compared to all fours lived longer and were more likely to survive and reproduce.
You know how we allegedly evolved from monkeys?
Yeah.
Why can't those monkeys then evolve into us now?
Well, that's what people say in it, but it wouldn't work because for evolution to occur, there has to be a selection pressure. So there has to be something forcing you to develop that. Well, basically what happens is, allegedly, an animal had a genetic mutation that gave them a new characteristic. Okay, and it could be a combination of genes together that led us to start walking on our legs, right? For that to happen, it has to be a weird ass random probability. Mutations are spontaneous, you can't predict them, okay? But then the environment selected for that characteristic. So the environment chose that characteristic was an advantage for survival and reproduction. And that's why it continued, Okay, that's why we ended up on 2 legs, because the humans who had 2 legs, they wouldn't be humans at that time, but our ancestors who were on 2 legs, the first ones who were on 2 legs, were more likely to survive and reproduce than our ancestors on 4 legs. And then over a long period of time, all the ones on 4 legs in our species were out-selected and didn't exist anymore. And all we were left were the ones with 2 legs. So if you think about monkeys now, the reason that they're not becoming human is because they're not having the exact same genetic mutations that led to us, which wouldn't happen anyway because the numbers are just too massive and like unlikely. And also there's no selection pressure massively on you know, making that super advantageous. Maybe if a monkey did start walking on 2 legs, then maybe they could become some kind of more similar to human organism, but they're never going to be humans again. It's not like a linear process of you start as a single cell and then you become a fish and you come out of the water and then you're like a weird ape thing and then you become a monkey and then you're a human. That's not how it works. It was down to monkey-like people changing, having certain different characteristics that were advantageous, and they became more human-like over time. And then we haven't changed much because we don't really have, you know, not a lot of characteristics make us more likely to survive and reproduce, because we can just survive and reproduce because our lives are comfortable, and you know, we're at a point in society where people aren't dying young that much and people can reproduce if they want. So, you know.
So why are there still some monkeys left then? Why have we not all evolved? Why only some of us?
Because they were still good, like those monkeys were still adequate to survive and reproduce. Realistically, everything that's here now is just here because it was able to survive and reproduce.
If we evolved more, how do you think we would evolve?
Well, it'd have to come down to a weird... I mean, with humans now, we're evolving in a weird way, independent of nature. So, like, we might add ourselves, give ourselves artificial limbs or an artificial brain or an artificial heart, like they're trying to do with, like, Neuralink or whatever. So that if you're not thinking that way, I mean, I think that's the only way humans would evolve. Otherwise, it would have to be someone had this crazy genetic mutation that then was advantageous. But I don't think it would be, because everyone can survive and reproduce anyway. You know?
There'd be no sort of like, a little bit more hair in this area. Or...
No, because that wouldn't help us survive, would it? The only thing really would be like there was some crazy genetic mutation that made you really smart or really strong. But then even then, we're not competing. Like we're not really competing for survival anymore, or reproduction. You know, pretty much anyone can survive to old age as long as nothing catastrophic happens, and they can find someone to reproduce with. So the whole natural selection evolution thing doesn't really apply to us anymore, because we've kind of outgrown it in a way, which is weird. With our technology and everything and our healthcare, we don't rely on that anymore. It's odd.
What's the point in having hair if babies don't have any and they get by just fine?
Protect us from... I mean, it's got to be something to do with stopping things affecting our skin and stuff. I mean, I think armpit hair, there's like pores there or something there that connects to our lymphatic system. So you have hair there to protect vulnerable areas. I think that's what it is. Vulnerable.
What's the lymphatic system?
It's like, I don't know completely, but what I do know it does do is it sorts out when we have an excess of something in our body.
Like sweat?
No. So let's say you ate loads and loads and loads of fat.
KFC. Okay,
yeah. So you've got loads of fat in your stomach. Your body's going to think, right, this is a good source of energy, right? But we don't want it yet. So what we're either going to do is put some in the blood to take some cells who might want it. We're going to store some. But the stuff that you want to put in the blood, you can't put it all there at one time. Because if you put loads of fat in the blood's going to get clogged up with fat and it's not going to be able to circulate the body. So what the body does is it puts fat droplets into the lymphatic system, and then that passes the fat gradually into the blood. So I know that armpit hair is protecting those weird little lymph glands or whatever. I think it's protecting vulnerable areas, isn't it? Like your genitals, your armpits, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit against evolution. I think you are as well, aren't you?
What do you mean against it? Disbelieving it?
Yeah.
I don't believe many things in life. I don't think we should. You know, I don't think we should 100% believe anything.
You know, like, is it up to like the government how we're taught? Could they just basically make it up? Is that possible?
Potentially, yeah.
Could they just be like, alright, we look a bit like monkeys, and let's create a false narrative for everyone to believe, so no one questions it.
Yeah.
But then how would they know like the real thing themselves?
Well, it is.
But then they know like secret stuff anyway. So
yeah. Well, it is backed up with like Darwin's theories and experiments and things. But like I say, I don't believe many things 100%. I don't think you should. I think you should always leave a little door open.
Always question everything.
Exactly, a little door open for new ideas. Believe something 99%. You know, have 99% certainty. That's cool. But don't believe it all the way. You know.
So what's the arguments against evolution?
I don't really know. I think it's just, to me, it's just the monkeys to humans thing. Yeah, I can see there's some weight in that. The single-celled organisms to humans thing, that's crazy. Because that's what they say, is that everything evolved from single-celled organisms that you couldn't even see with the naked eye. I'm like, the fact that that went to something like me, it's just crazy. And how did the single cell then evolve to become a human and then evolve consciousness? What's going on there?
Is there any point in them trying to figure it out? Because then there's no way to know for sure.
Exactly, yeah. So we just develop theories and test them and cling on to the ones that we believe are valid. So,
but we're probably putting quite a lot of money into research and stuff. Why don't we move that and put it into something else?
Because research is important, man.
But what about research in the past, like in the very big past?
Well, like Big Bang and all that, and
yeah,
because it's interesting, isn't it? But I know what you mean. It's like
it's a bit of a waste of resources. It feels like.
Well, there's a part of me that says that about space travel. Like, why are we bothering? Let's just make this planet sick.
Yeah, but I think we've already wrecked it.
I don't think we have. Well, I hate this thing of like people saying we're wrecking the planet. It's like, no, eventually we'll just die and the planet will continue.
Is this you going against global warming now?
No, it's not me. No, what I'm saying is when people go, we're killing the planet, it's like, no, you're not. The planet is still going to be about. You know what I mean? If it gets a bit hotter, all the ice caps melt and everyone drowns and we all can't survive anymore, we'll all just die. But the planet will still be here. You're not killing the planet.
How do you kill a planet?
You can't. It just still exists. Unless
well,
you're
what
like,
about Meteor? Does that kill a planet?
unless you're like in Rick and Morty or Star Wars or something where you just, you know, shoot it with a big laser and it explodes. We're not going to kill the planet. We're going to kill up.
Is that possible?
No, probably not, no.
Because you can't, like, to kill a planet, you got to, like, split it in half, right?
Yeah, probably.
So, but you can't, like, in the middle of it, you can't, because they've tried to dig down, there's only a point where you can dig.
It's called science fiction for a reason, yeah. Not possible, man.
So how could you kill a planet?
Just make sure no one eats.
Could a nuke, like...
Apparently they say if we get rid of bees, we will die. They're that, haven't they? No plants to be pollinated and stuff.
But that's how humans would die. Surely the planet won't die.
Yeah, the planet wouldn't die, no. Everything would die, though. You could just burn everything and everyone would die.
What would happen if you, like, dug down to where you can't dig anymore and then just dropped a nuke?
Probably wouldn't go well.
Would it split the planet in half?
I don't know. Could a nuke break the Earth's core? Because the Earth's core is just like molten rock and lava and stuff, isn't it?
So what would happen if those chemicals sort of exploded into lava? Could that not make it a bigger explosion?
Maybe. To dig down as far as you can go and then set off a nuke. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to try it though.
But then surely that's quite safe though, because it wouldn't affect the people at the top. It would just sort of split the planet into half. Then you can travel about from one side of the planet to the other.
A nuke's big though, and I think the core of the Earth's important.
Why?
I don't know, it just would be, wouldn't it? It's always been there. It's always been there.
There must be a reason we can't break it.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Yeah, but what's down there? Do you know what I mean?
I think just molten, maybe, I don't know. Who knows, man?
Is that where God can live?
He's there, and he's bloody double glazed his walls so no one can get in. And he's sat there watching TV.
But then, I mean, did God create all the planets?
I don't know, it depends what you believe. God created the world, apparently.
If he did create the world and all the planets, then I don't think he'd chill on that. I don't think he'd chill on Earth.
Why? There's a lot of people here. There's no one else.
Yeah,
here.
but he doesn't seem to like people.
I think, I think God, if God created the solar system, he wouldn't live in it. He'd just watch it. He'd be in his own place.
He'd be in his own planet.
No, not a planet even. He's just a spirit, isn't he? He'd be in the spirit world.
He just wanders around the space.
Yeah, he'd be in like the spirit realm, the stuff that we can't see that's here now around us.
Maybe he's the sun.
Maybe.
Could he be living inside the sun?
Be very hot.
Or could the sun be Satan?
No.
And then the stars will be
sun,
God.
But the sun without the sun, we'd all die. Everything would die without the sun.
But you know, I'm trying to link it because it's hot in that.
Yeah. But the sun's like a nice hot. At the distance it is from us, it's good. Any closer, ooh.
Could the sun be Satan and God?
Everything's Satan and God. Everything's evil and good. Everything's yin and yang. We've been through this.
Everything is everything.
No, everything is one thing, and that's the unity. That's reality, my friend.
Are we all connected?
What do you mean?
Are we all one?
Yeah. Because realistically, right, all I am is a consciousness inside of a meat vehicle, and then there's a bit of space, and then there's another meat vehicle, and then there's your consciousness.
Meat vehicle, you mean body?
Yeah. That's all there is, man. And then realistically, if you take away all the material stuff, you take away this space between us and our meat vehicles, we're just two consciousnesses experiencing the human life, the human condition.
Our consciousness gets to choose our body?
No.
It's just random.
I don't know. Depends what you believe. I mean, if you believe in like the soul contract theory and stuff, that we're here for a reason, and what we do is, what we experience is there to teach us lessons, then I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's something I've thought about. That's why I kind of rationalise like with my disability and that. I'm like, why did it happen? Maybe it's chance. Maybe God was like, he needs to have a different experience. He needs to learn some different lessons. Don't know.
Then would we really be reborn in the same solar system?
Probably not. No.
I think if reincarnation was real, it'd be a different world completely.
Yeah.
And there'd be a whole new different concepts.
Yeah, the human experience is just one experience.
What's the solar system called?
Ours?
Yeah.
It's got a name, isn't it? I can't remember though.
Okay, so it's called the galaxy or whatever.
The galaxy is loads of stars in it, and each star has its own solar system apparently. That's how it works, isn't it? Because the sun is a star.
One day we need to get Neil deGrasse Tyson on.
Yeah, but every star you look at in the sky is its own solar system. Just like our sun has its own,
So there's such thing as other solar systems. Has that been proven?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's absolutely... Is there infinite number of solar systems?
Apparently space is apparently infinite, isn't it? It's constantly expanding. And
I mean, imagine if there was like a sort of barrier that was like not infinite, so it's like a...
So like Truman Show type thing where you go out there and there's just a door.
Sort of. Yeah, so sort of like a boundary, but then...
It's so far away though, it'd take ages to get there, man.
If I went into space, I'd be pretty scared.
Same. Yeah. Not nice. No oxygen. Literally, if you don't have that suit on, you're dying. You just explode. You know.
Well,
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go to space. The only way I'd go to space is if they'd done it for a couple of years and they do like a little flying tour. Like you go on a ship and then you kind of go out there, you look at the Earth, fly about a bit.
I don't know. To challenge myself, I'd be up for being one of the first ones.
But what if like it went horrendously and you died?
You'd die for a purpose, I guess. It's a good way to go out. I think if you're going to die, you might as well die for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather take a bullet for someone than just sort of die in my sleep.
Even at this age? Would you jump? Like, let's say someone's got me at gunpoint. Are you jumping? Or it doesn't have to be me. It can be someone that you believe to be incredibly valuable. Your parents, your sister, me, another mate.
Well, there's two things, right? Because one thing, I'd be like, okay, think of this rationally. Okay, say it's my sister. She's younger than me. She's got more years. She's also a girl, so she can have a baby. That's more valuable than me. But the thing is, in that situation, would I be that rational?
And also, it's a split-second decision. There's a bloke with a gun to your sister.
I think if it was my sister, I would.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know if it was you though. Like,
yeah.
Because how do we do that? Like, yeah, you're smarter than me, but I don't know. I don't think. I'd probably dive and I'd try and hit him over.
You'd attack the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, just this is the thing where it's just to make sense. Yeah, like, she can have a baby, she can procreate. You can't do that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's also a bit of a bias as well. I think I'm less likely to dive in front of a man than I am for a woman.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's some like primal instinct, masculine protector provider, let's look after the female type drive?
I wasn't thinking that profound. I just sort of seen it in movies. You sort of dive for the girl because.
But maybe there's something more complex there, like hoarders.
Yeah.
You know.
I think you sort of protect, don't you?
Yeah.
You protect your other half.
You do, mate. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think to jump in front of a bullet to anyone, that's courage. That's real courage. Yeah.
So back to the lasers. If someone shot a laser at Earth, do you reckon God would like dive and take a hit?
He comes out of nowhere like, whoa. No.
That'd be when we'd see him though.
If he was going to appear, he'd be like, shit, they're all going to die, let's get involved. And he'd like appear. He'd be like Harry Potter when he takes off the invisibility cloak and he's suddenly there.
But isn't it... God's probably invisible, right?
Yeah.
So if he's everywhere, would you just... So if he took off his invisibility, would you just see the whole room just be like a certain colour? Because he's everywhere.
Maybe, yeah. Because if God does exist, to me, it's like a life force, like an energy. So if it revealed itself to us, maybe everything would just glow a little bit and...
It'd be like a gas just sort of around.
Yeah, like a fart.
Just, swishing
like
around.
Like a visible fart. Sloshing around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there was a laser at Earth, we'd die. If it was strong enough, man.
No, because the world would just split into two.
Then we'd die.
I don't know, can't we fire back?
What are we gonna send? Guns?
Yeah. America, they've got more guns than people.
Yeah, bro, but a bullet will leave our atmosphere, and who knows, nothing will happen then. It'll leave.
So if you shoot a bullet up in the air, will it just come back down?
I don't know.
Or will it go into space?
I don't know.
Because the force is there,
yeah.
the speed and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
So let's assume it would, right? So there's this like UFO just sort of lasering down. If all of America got out their guns and just pew pew pew.
Yeah, but one individual, like bullets themselves, one bullet, I think it would leave our atmosphere and then it would stop on the course that it was on because like the gravity will change, create like crazy amounts of pressure and everything, and I think it would just leave our atmosphere and then just like float about and not do much damage. I think if the Earth was split, say, I think our atmosphere would split and we die.
Can you break like the atmosphere?
Well, if you think about it, if we cut the world, so the atmosphere is all around the globe, we cut the Earth in half, what happens to the atmosphere in the bit that's just like half an Earth?
Does it not just sort of merge?
No, I don't think it's like a force field like that. I don't think that's. I think it would smash our atmosphere, and it would die. It would change everything.
So if there's no atmosphere, we've got no oxygen.
Yeah, it would change all the gases. I mean, space is a vacuum, so maybe we Earth cuts in half, our atmosphere cuts in half, and all the vacuum from space is like just pulls everything, pulls all the gases and everything away, and there's no way we'd survive it. No way.
What if you had like an oxygen helmet?
No, because eventually you'd run out.
Why would you run out?
Eventually you'd run out of oxygen.
Because isn't there like a button that you press? It sort of goes inside you, and then you breathe it out, and the oxygen goes back into the sort of area.
No, because you don't breathe out the same oxygen you breathe in. You breathe out less oxygen than you breathe in because you use it to like power your body and.
So you breathe out 100 micro whatever, would sort of 99 leave and 1 would stay.
Nah, it's more. I think it's more drastic than that. I know the I mean, most of the air that we breathe is nitrogen. So
could we possibly run out of oxygen?
Yes. No, not now. No. Well, if we have enough trees, no, because or just not trees, but just plants, things that photosynthesize, right? Because they use carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. Whereas when we respirate, we use oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. That's why we work well with plants.
So if we never run out of oxygen, then there's no worries.
Yeah, unless we get like our planet split open.
Yeah.
It's everyone's favourite segment.
What the world is waiting to hear.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
So, I can't pronounce this. It's Samihaya. I think that's my best get at it. That's what the robot's called, and
Okay.
it's knocking about in Tokyo.
Right.
And
What's on the street and stuff?
No, okay, so I think it was 2 or 3 sort of 20-year-olds in Tokyo. They created it basically.
So they built it and coded it and everything.
Yeah, and they wanted to see if how it would do sort of academically. So they got it to apply for one of the universities of Tokyo, a course in Tokyo, and it got in.
No way, man.
Yeah, so this course, it's all online.
Right.
So working from home, sort of doing the uni stuff.
Hold on. So how are they implanting this like knowledge and skills into the robot?
Well, it sort of learns for itself, artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And what they do is
And 3 20-year-olds are just doing this for fun.
They're pretty smart in Japan. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And to make it sort of believable, because they got to go on like the Google Meets and the Zoom and stuff. So
Wait, does the uni know it's a robot?
No.
Oh, so it saw its application and saw its grades and that and thought, yeah, he's alright.
So,
did it do a personal statement about like the year it's been alive?
Probably. Well, it probably just generated them, didn't it?
In ChatGPT, personal statement. Yeah.
So they give it like a false face. Because it's got to be on the webcam, it's got to be live. Do you know what I mean?
You've got to have your camera on.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Are you putting a mask? It didn't have like a physical.
It's not a mask. It basically.
Is there a bit of software on Zoom where they can like put a face on it?
Yeah. So it uses its AI to like create a false sort of face, and apparently it's quite like an attractive guy.
Okay, so he's a fit guy now.
Yeah.
Right. Nice. Is he Japanese or does he look European or is he trying to fit in? And so it's a fit Japanese guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, the teacher's like, "Could everyone turn their cameras on?" And he does. And she's like, "Yeah, today, so we're doing a quiz."
A quiz at uni? Wow.
Well,
that's high tech, innit, in Japan. They are smart, aren't you, mate? They're doing a pub quiz.
No. It's like to do with what they're teaching.
Right. So it's a test, an assessment, an exam.
But it's like a sort of quick fire.
Right.
It's like a Kahoot, but like a more advanced.
An advanced Kahoot, okay.
Or online. And the AI does really well because it's really smart. It wins it.
It knows everything, yeah.
And everyone's like, "Wow, this student is."
This fit Japanese guy's intelligent, man. He's looking good.
So the students
Hold on. I have a question. Is the robot saying anything during these lessons? Because surely
I think it's just the chat.
Does he have no mic then? His mic's off.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's just typing in the chat. All right, that's cool. How is he doing that through ChatGPT then, or something like just some?
It's probably something similar. Yeah.
And is it using its fingers to type, or how is it doing that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's got sort of the equivalents.
All right.
And so the students are really impressed, and there's one girl that's quite keen
on him, like romantically.
Yeah, so she manages to get his like the equivalent of a number.
But she doesn't have a phone number. It's a robot.
Yeah, but they're connected, aren't they? Like cyborg.
Okay, so she rings this number and it's in his headset then.
So she doesn't. So she doesn't ring him. She
texts him. Slides into the DMs.
Yeah.
How is he replying then? Just through his thoughts.
Oh yeah, what he generates is the best reply.
All right, yeah.
And the conversation's going well until this girl's like, "Oh, can I meet you?"
Right.
And the robot.
Is the robot interested in her though? Has he got feelings for her, or is he just quite neutral?
I think he's enjoying himself.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I don't think there's such thing as feelings yet, but so the robot sort of goes along. They decide to meet up, and
they decide to meet up. And the robot doesn't think, "Oh wait, she thinks I'm a human. I'm not."
Well, she might like him for what he is.
Right. Okay.
But unfortunately, that's not the case. She goes along and turns out she's not what he expected.
Yeah. He's a big catfish.
Yeah. And she walks off in embarrassment, and she snitches and tells the school.
Oh.
So
he loses.
He gets expelled. The bot.
Wow.
And that's the sweet say news.
Right. Hold on. So these 20-year-olds making this robot and allowing him to flirt with this woman. Why are they not getting involved?
I don't think they have that much supervision over it.
Hold on, so they
they did it as an experiment. They built it up or whatever,
and now it does its own thing.
Flung it on the school, and then it sort of operated. They sort of see how it goes, but not getting too involved.
So does the robot live on his own, or is he kind of?
He lives with them, like sort of sharing a
like a lodger.
He's almost got his own room.
He's a lodger. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand how the robot is just thinking that this woman's going to be alright with it. She runs away then. So do they not have any conversation or anything? He doesn't even say, look, honestly, I know this is a bit of mix up, but I couldn't show my real robot face on the thing because I'd get expelled, so I had to be this guy, and I'm sorry, but I want you to love me the way I am. You know, I thought you loved me based on my Kahoot knowledge.
Well, I think they went along.
Did they have some food or something, or?
I don't think it got that far.
Oh, okay.
I think he sort of introduced himself, and he's like, "What? Are you? I thought I was looking for someone else." And he's like, "No, I'm this person." And she's like, "What? And she just sort of walks away in embarrassment.
Right.
And she's so fuming at it that she got catfished. She snitches on the school.
Yeah. Well, I think the moral of that story is, don't do Kahoots. Just don't bother. If you go to uni, right, and they throw you a quiz on day one, it's not a good place to be. And maybe don't go on dates with robots. Yeah,
well, the robot's learned its lesson now. I'd probably show its face.
Well, it's expelled, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next school.
When it's out and about.
Yeah. He's got to try and find women in other places. Maybe meet in real life, you know, when they know they're meeting a robot. But it'd not be a good partner, would it, really? Low emotional connection, anyway.
Yeah,
interesting.
And that's it for this week.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, again, if you have any questions for us, what's the email for the questions?
questions@openminded.co.uk.
Yeah, that's good, because obviously there's a bit. We've done a few episodes in advance when you hear this one, but if we get any questions in, then we'll talk to them and discuss them on an episode as soon as we can. But if you're listening up to this point, you're a legend. We like you very much. Share this podcast about, send it to your mum, send it to your dog, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.
Until next time.
Yeah, in a bit.